You tell all the boys no, makes you feel good. Yeah, I know you're out of my league, but that won't scare me away. Oh no. I mean, are you just listening to this? You've carried on so long, you couldn't stop if you tried it. Ooh, you've built your wall so high that no one could climb it. But I'm gonna try. I mean, are you listening to this? It's just a romanticizing of trash. Let's start from the top. You tell all the boys no, makes you feel good. Yeah, yeah, I know you're out of my league, but that won't scare me away, oh no. It's like that chick being with a peasant boy as high society. You're out of my league, but that's not gonna scare me. You're a peasant, and you're hollering at me saying that I'm not gonna be scared that you're off. You belong to the queen's palace. I'm not gonna be frazzled by the fact that you're the king's daughter. What the heck? Imagine some peasant dude, some baker in the royal bakery hollering at a princess. Some baker in the royal bakery hollering at a princess, saying, I'm not gonna be scared that you're a princess. And I'm not gonna be scared that your dad would shoot me dead if he found out that I was hollering at you. I'm not going to be scared. Because I can see you like me. I can see you're sick and tired of this uppity life that you keep on living that's so full of pretense. What you need is a peasant boy that after I flirt with you, and after I speak sweet nothings and I read you poetry, and I make you experience a rush, I'm going to put you in a lowly house that is full of cockroaches, and make you one that is struggling to make ends meet. And when I come back home from wherever it is that I've come back home, I'm all disheveled and I'm scruffy. But hey, we're in love at least. When you're pregnant, you're gonna give birth to a child in a public hospital. Though you were the queen's daughter. You're a princess, but you ran away with me. You're a princess, but you ran away with a peasant. You're a queenly lady. You were next in line to be queen, but you're gonna run away with me. Yeah, looking at you like you're all up for grabs, chilling in a palace, romanticizing a future of hardship. When you end up unequally yoked with an unbeliever, it's hardship. It's being with daughter that's gonna cheat on you. It's being with a man that is going to keep ogling at other women, making you insecure, accommodating weird lewd text messages from crazy people, watching pornography, not going with you to church, not praying with you, allowing himself to get seduced by Jezebels. Uyatagatega. So when people sow discord between you and your husband, he goes awry, but you're the only one praying. You're the only one standing in the gap. You're the only one always just steamed up in, God, please protect my marriage. Please save my marriage. Please don't let my marriage fall apart. Bandla, Lenda has never been born again, so we are tatek. We are tagatek. I live among a people about tagategayo, and if I tell you the way ndefela baling on and off like a switch kade, listen, you expect mina ukuthi ndothatha indoda that you will only promise me big things, but the moment someone sows discord between us in our marriage, hambile, there he goes, looking pitiful just because I let him go. Mara before then, love thirst, love cares, love whatever. In the beginning, I shit too busy got the tongues that don't nobody interpret. And then baby, no, I'm gonna love you. I won't let anybody hurt you or us. Soon as you're married, the way in South Africa, somebody be coming in between you and your marriage. And it actually comes in between the both. Indoda ezothagatekayo emtshadweni ayisindisangwa. And chicken a woman oloyegang komo kolengalo asenzalwa. Bona nna hore a ke nyakaze jwang. It's cuz I'm real. I'm the real deal. I don't barge. Nobody takes me ka korobela. Nobody vacuums me out of the room and I'm a dust particle on a carpet. I'm sturdy, I'm firm, like I said, Thor's hammer. Manje, when a person is not a real saint, busy with a profession of faith on their tongue just so they can slide into your DMs. As soon as some little liver hexy of a rubbish figure lamka I think Funukara temba break it up. I know temba he is hot metal, more hostile, more achang into a new weapon. Whereas Mawani Nilivas, we are banned Alomuntu. Ingati he is an experiment under metallurgy. I know Shem, so I'm not going to be with a man that's gonna mold and twist and turn. When there is fire, if he's gonna get softened by umlilo. If otohona ho shapey wa ho reshape wa habaka kinyamullo moling along laron. A crucible for silver, the furnace for gold, the Lord tests the hearts. The heart. It's written in God's word that He's going to test imisebenzi yethu ngomlilo. But so if you are hay and stubble, fall apart. Kodwa kunabantu that are made of solid steels, solid structures. So like what I dreamt about, you stay sturdy, or I am, while everything else is around you. And we're gonna talk about all that burning that I saw in my dream, in my visions. Suicide spells. Yeah. Though he has got a profession of faith on his tongue. Oh cha, like wood. Oh cha, like hay, like stubble. As soon as some lever Hexy in the office decides, though he's a married man, he's gone, girl. When now low, so you're not gonna hold on to a man you meet. I'll go just some much. Maronale also dulanganza mo bakela di cupcake ko office. Wa tseba go onyetse. Jo, hi. Mara opison tsa kinya chef mo ara di cupcake tsa monna ha. Cause we feel nkare there's not enough men la emgaqweni. Tshwantse yena e loba Whitney Houston. Allo savor all her love for your man. Yeah. Gone, lights out. Indoda yakho iyathatheka. Ugqoka ikwayikwayi naye. Like an LGBTQIA member. Ati go. Ticketing, go. Ticketing, go. Alo shapa, alo chika, alo gana mara jarata msaliomo. Cause he's not manly enough to hold on to God. So that's why I pay kwa. Hard sisters. Not my husband that. Mara kiba twa kimon na ona nangore. Utlo gana mo life nyaka asimo liki nyaka. Utlo ngshela abuti. Pila mmewaka lenta dwaka the king and the queen. Kile princess. Though you come from a whole king's palace, because I know how to romance a lady. I know how to make a girl get a rash that has only ever been uppity and prissy and go royal palace. Because in that palace, you know too much fucking life. Out here romanticizing a calm life. Out here romanticizing a racy, fast life. Like you will remember in the movie Temptation. Here it is that I'm talking too much without singing. In the movie Temptation, Judith, how she was tempted by Harley. One time they're in a lift and the guy talks to Judith, this woman that has only ever been with one man, was a virgin when she got married, Christian girl, and he says to her, sex should be rough like your animals. Yeah, go and grab a woman that is honoring of the institution of marriage and of intimacy therein, and puts ideas in her head that she should be wild like an animal in bed, out here acting all nasty. And then what does she do the same night? Goes to her husband, Bryce, and is like, scratch at me, and she out here like pushing him against the wall, and the guy's like, looking at his wife on some, where did you get this from? Going to her man and being like, be rough with me, scratch at me, like an animal. And her husband was like, let's just like fluff up some pillows. Harley actually said in the lift that your sex is probably really boring. Your husband probably first fluffs up the pillows and gets the bedroom nice and neat, and then you guys go there and you lay down, and then he was like, sex should be rough like your animals. And then Judith, after getting these ideas in her head, goes to her husband and starts to scratch him up, and then the guy's like, whoa, Judith, relax, I'm just gonna go now fluff up the pillows and we can do this thing the normal way. And Judith is like, ugh, and remembers what Harley said, and that's what got her eventually to have an extramarital affair with a sexual deviant. I got men like Harley all up in my grill that believe that sex should be rough and wild, and there should be gags and chains and whips. I told you about some dude that's like, you don't want to have sex, it's fine, give me head. That's the kind of nonsense that's pursuing me. I'm a daughter that have no love, no love for intimacy, no love for marriage, no love for the purity of marriage, and sex inside a marriage, the purity of it that honors God, without weird, random, trashy stuff. The guy in the US that I briefly dated at some point, he used to speak dirty to me first and foremost, and secondly, he said something once upon a time, you know how I'm so full of accents on my tongue, and I spoke in a British accent, just dropping a joke, like on some, yeah, I see it, mate, did joker. And he was like, ooh, I like it. It reminds me, we're gonna use it one day in role play. He thoroughly said that to me, and I was so turned off, I didn't even know what to say. I was like, no, I've never ever, I was a fornicator before I came to Christ, and there's no man that ever asked me to do role play. No man ever asked me to wear a maid's uniform and some heels and some fishnet stockings and then do weird trash. Like, I've never had an experimental boyfriend like that. And here is this guy claiming to be in Christ and trying to introduce sexual acts that I never even did when I was in the world. Yeah, that's the kind of guy that will tell you sex should be rough, it should be wild. I expect you to growl like an animal. and then you're gonna go and you experiment on your husband with it. Yeah, kind of person to tell you that your little persnickety uppity palace life is too neat. It's tucked in a bunch, like with a bow on it, with like a shirt inside for a Christmas present. That's all the way up tucked, like you know, buttoned all the way to the neck over there. It's a neat present, but what you need to find inside that present when you open it is a vibrator, is a dildo. What you need to find are sex toys instead of a cardigan that your grandmother bought you for Christmas. That's what these men want to introduce to Christian women. They want to introduce us to spanking, gags, role play, dirty talk, scratching, and all different kinds of animalistic activity in the bedroom. You're used to fluffing up pillows, yeah, and just basically honoring the Lord in intimacy without doing weird trash. And then this guy, he has gay sex first and foremost, and with women too. Or he's just all over these streets, and he always insists on tools, toys in that space. I mean, sex toys, you have to go to an adult store to get them. You're not gonna get a sex toy at Woolworths. You're not gonna, you can buy lingerie at Woolies. You can buy lingerie at a regular clothing store, but you're not going to in that very section of Woolies where they sell beautiful lingerie. You're not gonna find sex toys. There are certain environments that you have to go to find sex toys, like adult stores. And when you walk in there, it's like walking into a porn shop. Back in the day, I had only ever been inside one. No, I've never actually been inside an adult store. I've only ever seen one on TV. I'm out here confabulating, I'm interweaving details. I saw it on, I believe, Being Mary Jane, and I also saw it on Sex and the City. My cousin and I used to like watching Sex and the City growing up as teenagers. Sex and the City. And Samantha one time went in with Carrie and everybody into a sex store, and they were out playing with the toys they're in. And the environment inside that sex store, like they were selling, of course, like, you know, dildos. They were selling, I don't even know if that word is okay to use as a Christian. They were selling vibrators. They were selling other weird little things that you don't know what's going on. Stuff that you don't even know where it goes, what it does. Like, what is this? Like, yeah, type establishment thing. It had a lot of graphic imagery in it. Sold cars that have got Kama Sutra positions on them. And manje, if you're going to be looking at Kama Sutra positions on a card, you're looking at porn. It's like soft porn. It's like you might as well be watching a porn flick. So it's like a dirty magazine. Therefore, there's no room for sex toys in a Christian marriage. Why? Because in order to even purchase these toys, you have to walk into a space. Like I said, you would never find sex toys at Woolies, near the lingerie or whatever. You would have to walk into a most diabolical, dingy store that has got imagery littered in it that is profane, pornographic in the sight of God, and so therefore abominable. And so therefore for you to walk in there is in and of itself a sin. And so in order to go and purchase stuff over there, you have to basically disregard the covenant that you have made with your eyes, that you might not gaze at filthy stuff. And then of course the usage of the stuff is also in and of itself just lewd in the sight of God. You don't need no vibrators, you don't need no whatever. These weird little mini things that people use in this capacity. You don't, for the life of you know, like proper. Like even I don't even want to get into detail about this stuff because it's kind of like the audience I'm dealing with is not mature. Never mind that, but it's not godly, so they cannot even have a conversation about sex without letting their minds run away with them. So I don't even want to get into depth about speaking about what makes sense inside a marriage between Christians sexually, because then they're gonna just take ideas and whatever. But for instance, there are conditions in the body, like health conditions in the human body, that can make sexual activity difficult. Like for instance, lubrication, like being dry because you've got like a health issue, a health condition. Then on that day, for you to partake in sexual activity with your husband, you would need the enablement of lubricant for health reasons, type establishment thing, because of whatever you're going through. And that very lube, you can find it in a spa. You can find it at like a regular grocery store, sells it in the section for condoms. You can find it. You understand what I'm saying? So basically what I'm getting at is, if you cannot buy it at a regular FMCG, and if you also cannot buy it at a regular clothing store, then you should not be using it for sexual reasons. You in a consecrated covenant marriage between a godly man and a godly woman. I'm not against lubrication insofar as it is being used for the right purposes, and I mean, condoms are a hotly debated topic in the kingdom of God. Mara, certain things like toys and whatnot, those, for instance, that want to convince themselves that lesbianism is okay, and homosexuality, gay, little lesbian, lesbians, listen, okay, your paraphernalia. I'm sure you don't have manhood. However, you've got orifices in your bodies that make it impossible for you to enjoy sex unless they are humored, if you know what I mean. You've got holes, and these here holes that you have that a woman can never ever fill, you need to go and buy toys to fill them. Not only these here vibrators, but also like weird little panties that you wear that have got manhood on them. You're not gonna find that at Woolies. You're not gonna find that at Pep. You're not gonna find that at Checkers and at Spa. You're only gonna find that at a weird shop. So to be a lesbian, sexually claiming to be a lesbian in Christ, God understands that I've got these desires. The Lord understands that I've got these desires, and I was born this way. You think you're Lady Gaga? I was born like this. My voice is gone. I don't know what's happening. I'm hurting. So my voice has to handle. I was born this way. Whatever. You say you're born that way, and God gets you, and then you go and you confound and just discombobulate scripture to fit your narrative. And then, even though the Lord has said flee from sexual immorality, you're like, okay, fine, we'll only have this lesbian sex inside a marriage. Yeah, well, in order for y'all to satisfy each other, lesbians, you're not gonna be enough with just fellatio. Well, it's fellatio on men. I don't know what it's called on women, but you get my point. Yeah, I know what it's called on women, but I feel like it's too crass to mention over here. There's no politically correct terminology, so I'm not gonna use it. But that I would imagine is not enough. Foreplay is not enough, and neither are your phalanges enough. So you have to go and get something that has the girth of a man's nether regions, and so you have to go and purchase these like things that I'm tired of the D word. I don't want to use it. And also weird little panties that have that on it, like a contraption of that nature. You can't, you not gag. You're gonna find that in a Woolworths. Trying to go the funny shops, go the adult shop, like the one that I saw on Sex and the City. And so therefore purchase this contraption. And when you purchase it, I mean, I would just imagine you just going to the receptionist, the lady, the teller, and be like, I'm in a same-sex relationship as a woman, so do you have those, like, you know, panties with like a little thing on the front? And this lady's like, yeah, no, it's just that person over there at the back of the store. Like, it's a normal question to ask. Almost like me walking into Chinatown in a store that sells skincare, and I'm like, where are your kojic acid products? I'm like asking them, where are your kojic acid products? And then the lady's like, they're at the back of the store, but also try there at the back too, at another section too. There they also have kojic acid soap. But instead of kojic acid, it's like, where are your manhood having panties for lesbian relations? I mean, of course the lady is gonna act all normal. After all, she works in an adult store, but there's nothing normal about that. And yet you've got like a whole cross dangling on your chest, and you're attending a church that approves LGBTQIA stuff but doesn't preach enough on it. Like Grace Bible Church Archer was able to house Somizi long enough for him to complain when finally some guest preacher rocked up over there and preached against homosexuality, and the guy went to ENCA and all news networks in the country and was like, look at what they're doing to gay rights in this country. Wakala and Matola apologized. So unless the church is in and of itself proliferating LGBTQ agendas, or it doesn't rebuke it enough for gays to feel uncomfortable over there, you're sitting in that church, so your cross is dangling on your neck as you go to Bible studies and every Sunday fellowshipping over there. And with that dangling cross, you just thoroughly just allow yourself to walk into a porn shop, like a porn site, like searching it on your cell phone device. I lost my song again. Okay, I got it now. Here, okay? You be out, you're looking for all that stuff, even on your cell phone device. Man, this time around, you're actually walking into it, like walking into a porn set, and then you ask for weird contraptions that are going to accommodate, enable you, who is biologically inefficient, to please a woman, to try and make it work by adding contraptions to yourself, like men can fall pregnant too, right? All these things that you're in denial about. When I weird shops, because I'm dating a chick, a woman at YouTube, lesbian, she likely walks into these shops. She likely go type of stuff that she must hide from the maid. Type of stuff that if I sniff around when she's all snoopy, out you'll find her daughter's manhood having panties. Type of stuff that you might hide when you got guests for the week, lest they should snoop around. If your maid, upon finding it, won't start looking at you some kind of way in your house, if your maid, upon finding it, will rather start looking at you some kind of way in your house, then it's highly likely unholy. It's highly likely unholy. It is highly likely unholy. So, Nina, that with these like perverse antics in the bedroom, whips, I mean, unless you're like just hella abusive, or unless you own a horse that you keep on bridling, don't nobody know why you be owning a whip. Unless you own slaves, don't nobody know why you be owning a whip, but you got one. And now if I were to walk into a man's house over lunch, corner of my eye into the bedroom, I wouldn't go and see a man by himself going to unless there is a chaperone, if I'm not his spouse, unless there is enough accountability around us. Because there are many things. I'm busy structures. I've been put in so much harm's way that I would never allow myself to hang out with a man alone, just the two of us. Like, listen, never. I will never do that ever again. I've done it before, and I nearly fell into sexual sin. I'll never do it again, especially considering now there are people so I would never ever allow, unless I'm just encircled by a whole bunch of people, because after all, I don't even intend to kiss until you may not kiss the bride. That's what under heaven it is that I'm planning on doing. Mara, a woman this pure, that thoroughly thinks that I'm going to be in a relationship with her, and this woman is among the types of women that I'm busy talking about right now that set women up for failure. The harlot. Yeah. And labantu laba buy weird paraphernalia at stores that are not in keeping with covenant relationships with God with your eyes. So I'm a daughter that feeling that they can teach me tricks. Y'all, like, as in, I need to sing. I got lots of music. I'm not a virgin. I have, however, been celibate for 14 years. Please do not gaze at me like I'm a 14-year-old or a 15-year-old or a 16-year-old. As a bad boy that has been sleeping with all the whores in the school. Do not look at me like the virgin that you can teach things. I was a fornicator. I sinned against the Lord. Therefore, I have experienced sexually. And I know what I like, what I want. Though I was not supposed to know what I like or what I want. Because I was not supposed to fornicate. So, very naively. Oh, and that's what manhood looks like for the first time. And what a good time looks like. I know what I am and who I am. I just so happen to have been celibate for much longer than I would have appreciated. Although I am supposed to have the virtue of a child. So and in my shorts, I spoke that. The shorts prior to this content that I'm basically the last batch of work that I did. In those shorts, I even lamented about all these guys that are all over my girl like white on rice. The way they jahileng kateng, the way they lustful kateng, the way they masturbate kateng, the way they tinsen kateng. The way you have so destroyed your own sexuality and your own sexual desire. That thing, I would imagine that because you cheat too much, right? You have wives, but you're sleeping with so many other women, and there's too many of them to go around. You are like OnlyFans models that pride themselves and for the day sleeping with 1,000 men. One lady that was being interviewed that slept with like 1,000 men in one night, being an OnlyFans model. A couple of Christians covered her content. She spoke about how she was sad about letting these men down because they could not. Some of them, I told them that I would give them 5 minutes each, but I ended up telling them to get off me after just 2 minutes because there were just so many of them eventually at some point. Unhappy what it is that she just did. What I'm trying to get at is that when you sleep with so many people in one sitting, and I'm a daughter worse than these OnlyFans models, over their lifetime they've got I don't know how many partners. Prostitutes. It's easy for a man to have a body count of like a good 150 girls a year. Like, listen, it's easy. You're like Matthew McConaughey in Ghost of Girlfriends Past. There's so many women that you've slept with, and you pride yourself in that heavy body count. When you sleep with that many women, I severely doubt for the life of me that you're any kind of interested in trying to find out what they want, how they want to be basically pleasured. And I don't even think you care about whether or not they're happy or they get to where they need to get, since it takes so much more for a woman to get to where they need to get. With men, gulula nje manje, when you're always sleeping all over these streets with a whole bunch of women, you are unlikely gonna call any woman that you sleep with. A lot of them are one night stands, so you don't care that they think you're small. And you also don't care that they think that you're a 1 minute man. You don't care that they think I would imagine that guys that always sleep with a whole bunch of chicks but fast. They're just in and out in jail. It's just about experimenting with new terrain. It's not about pleasuring. It's not about satisfying. It is about a body count. It's a spiritual issue. It's a catastrophe, like you're Dracula. You're here to drink some blood so for the day you can get juice, but you don't actually care about your victims. So I can't even say that the women that you sleep with, that you make out of the ones that you make one night stands, are like, yo, he's the best I've ever had. They probably are in deep regret after you've been there for like 2 seconds. They're in deep regret because after you do your thing for 2 seconds, after squandering umzimba wabo, ubashiye nje high and dry without getting to where they need to get. In my shorts, I spoke about how it is that the way they're in such a rush to have sex. As soon as I'm in one space, and I spoke about guys back in the day when I was still in the world, especially when I was much younger, like 19, 20. You would go for let's say I know Jiva, and you then, this guy would be your date. And before you even talk and have a conversation, you're just standing at a party or whatever, just comes on you. uyakungabuza nje fela kene molomo hore lo make out all night long so as to increase his shot of hitting that at the end of the night. So halibui, hale tege, you don't exchange pleasantries, you don't get to know each other. Lo muntu ufuna ukulala nawe. So frankly, all that he does in Jeffela is just present umzimba wakhe to you and just just attack you with his tongue. Just men that quickly just like French kiss you, like just go in. I don't know how many guys have like just dove on me, like, to a point of me feeling like overwhelmed, man. I'm wrestling a bear. I did not expect this coming, and this guy and it always turned me off. It always made me conclude too much. It's early in the day and already he's all up in my mouth, and as soon as he's all up in my mouth, he's already, whether I'm wearing a skirt or pants, trying to get his hands in my pants, and he's squeezing my boobs, he's squeezing my bum. Whoa, who is this guy? Like, what's his surname? Like, who's his mom? Does he have sisters? Like, you don't know jack. What are his subjects at school? What is he studying at varsity? So I just got to a point where I was like, these guys, no. So what I would like proper, and kissing is dangerous. Why? Because now there's something called oral herpes, and it can be transferred between a person who has it in his mouth to you. Though a lot of times I believe oral herpes comes from fellatio, where you be out here giving a man fellatio that has genital herpes, and then it comes into your mouth. But once it's in your mouth and you kiss another person, you can get it. So there are kissing STDs essentially, or kissing transmitted diseases. You can't just go around kissing. Akusekho safe even in this region, especially considering they think that it is a lesser evil to do fellatio. And so, like, how many guys do you know that will insist on putting a protection on their manhood for fellatio? How many? For them, it's like, this is fellatio. It's not like the whole thing. It's not the whole thing. It's not the whole nine. So because it's not the whole nine, why put a condom on there? Why? For what? For any? Okay. So now you be out here getting oral herpes. Now you be out here getting all, like, proper. What in the world do you do with an STD on a man's manhood in your mouth? If at all you can get infected, if he goes in your nether regions by that STD, and your mouth has got so many, like, it's also a moist surface that is open, just like your nether region. So I guess that STD is coming this time in your mouth as opposed to in your nether regions. It's unsafe. I remember one time there was this guy that came to speak to us about sex, go high school, John, and he looked visibly uncomfortable when I asked him this question, but it was a what do you call this? It was a reasonable question to ask him. At the end of that, it was like grade 11 or matric, he came to speak to us students on sexual awareness. Because I get it, people are out here fornicating even in high school. So they brought him to our school to give us awareness sexually. And at the end of that, I went to him. At first, I asked my friends, and we were curious about this. And my friends and I had no answer. We were kids, so I went to him, and I was the brave one here that asked him the question. And he looked visibly not only annoyed, irritated, but also uncomfortable at my question. But I asked him that question because I had encountered enough girls on the come up, on the left and on the right of me, that had let me know that guys, when they give them fellatio, insist that it be raw. And they were concerned as to what are the myriads of issues that could go down over there, because apparently, allegedly, because it's fellatio, it's not as infectious. So I asked this guy, the question that my friends and I had on our tips, on the tips of our tongues was, can you get HIV from fellatio? Like, if a guy just goes on right ahead to ejaculate in your mouth and you swallow, can you contract HIV from that? I still to this day don't know the answer to that. I still don't know. I don't know why I didn't Google it when Google happened. I could Google it now, but I don't care to. Okay, especially considering I don't have Wi-Fi. But I asked this guy, and I was like, can you get AIDS from, well, I used the BJ word, because I was just a child. Maybe that's what turned him off. If I had said fellatio, he might have considered it less offensive. He might have considered it less of a blow of a question from a kid. Right? I was like, can you get HIV from a BJ? And this guy just looked at me on some, and he never answered me. I don't know what he said. Maybe he was likely along the lines of, just use protection every time you are engaged in sexual acts. And when it comes to, like, what do you call this? Well, when it comes to anything, always use protection. And there are also flavored condoms. I think he made mention of flavored condoms and how it is that y'all can use flavored condoms if at all you insist on putting men's nether regions in your mouth. Use flavored condoms. But he never ever gave me an answer. Maybe because he in and of himself didn't know. He didn't expect that question to come to me. Proper, I'm so curious. Like, at this point, I wish I could just Google it, but there's not enough Wi-Fi. Like, can you get HIV from fellatio? From swallowing, like from a person just like out here littering your mouth with his, oh goodness, I wish I could just find out. Because I have wanted to know the answer to this question all my life, and I let it go, never researched it because I don't go out like that. I don't. No, thank you. Like, listen, anyway, I don't know. Okay, there's no Wi-Fi over here. I'm thoroughly curious. Like, I want to Google it. I want to find out. Because why wouldn't you? Is seminal fluid not the reason why you contract HIV in the first place? Or whatever it is that comes out over there? Because we know that women have got the highest risk of contracting HIV from an HIV positive person. Whereas men can go in a woman that's HIV positive and sleep with her without protection and not get it because the risk of contracting it for them is lower. Likely precisely because they've got a protuberance while we've got this innie, and this intrusion of ours has got so many like cells and blood like vessels just in that region, like willing to receive and consume whole anything that just it makes contact with, which is why it is that women are the ones that are told as soon as they're sexually active by gynecologists to do a pap smear every 6 months, because there's just a litany of things that go in your body as a result of sexual activity that I guess litter your nether regions enough for it to be high risk for the growth of tumors and other random weird cells over there. So do a pap smear when you're sexually active, but if you're not sexually active, you are highly unlikely to at risk for things like cervical cancer. So if at all the place has the mouth has also got lots of blood vessels in it, it's this moist thing, and y'all know that y'all be cutting your mouth. The risk of cutting in the mouth is higher even than the risk of cutting in the mouth is higher even than the risk of cutting in the nether regions, because the mouth, you be out there biting into food, you be chewing bubble gum, and then you bite your tongue, whatnot. There's just so many risks. There's cutlery that goes in there that can cut you, like forks and what have you. And when you've got a cut in your mouth, it's just more risk. Like, listen, there is just more risk for you contracting HIV from giving a guy fellatio. And there are dudes out here thoroughly trying. Like, I had a vision of a guy telling me that, fine, I know you don't want to have sex before marriage, fine, you're pedantic, whatever, I don't care, give me head then. Like, that's safer. Like, that is safer. Not that it's about sexual safety, it is about sexual purity. This is a spiritual matter more than it is about not wanting to contract HIV or whatever, or even get sores in my mouth or whatever. But the mouth is more prone to cut than the nether regions ever can. I don't even want to use the V word because I feel like it's too vulgar at this point. Unless I'm a doctor, and I'm not one, so we're not going to be using such a word as that. The nether regions of any body are less prone to cuts than even the mouth is, and yet people think that it is safer to be giving people fellatio. I don't know. I don't know what's going on, mara footing STDs before I can sing my mukulos. It's taboo in and of itself. Because I get to work sex is because I went to the like they're trying to like twist me in a labyrinth and cause I worry. And first and foremost, I'm like, the way you turn to dancing, the way you're starting to womanize us, chances are all these hit it and quit it. These hit it's and quit it's like my one night stands, man, like in these streets that you keep on cheating on your wives on. Chances are you're in there for 1 minute, but some women are of the imagination that, listen, I did this to get a job, so I don't care that the guy's a 1 minute man. Never mind that. But there are others who are like, fine, you don't have to have sex, give me head. Yeah, except the chick was out there eating a fucking knife, licking the knife the night before. And so cutting her tongue, and now she's gonna give you fellatio, a little HIV positive. And since fellatio, what do you call this? People tend to not even insist on using a condom on it because apparently it's nothing. Can you contract HIV from fellatio? Listen, I don't know. So I'm googling. Here in Lies Google, it's open now. I've got Wi-Fi. We need to find out what's like proper, because I want to thoroughly imagine that fellatio is innocuous, and I thoroughly don't think it's innocuous. I don't think it's innocuous. Anyway, I'm googling. Can you contract HIV from oral sex? You don't want to say fellatio because Google might just be like, you're being pedantic. Except it won't. Google is smarter than me. Oh, come on, please just Google, like search. I don't want to travel to faraway places, yonder lands, just to get Google to work. I've got a bar, man, of Wi-Fi. Why isn't this thing just searching? I've got a bar of Wi-Fi. Hi, Shem. Listen, this is not a conversation about sex. I don't care to make it about sex, but these guys have made it about sex. It's about crazy ladies that help sexy men. In other words, sex-fueled men. Sexy is the wrong word. Absolute wrong word. Sex-crazed baboons. There we go. Yes, it is theoretically possible to contract HIV from oral sex, but the risk is extremely low. While considered a low-risk activity, transmission can occur if infected semen, pre-seminal fluid, or blood enters the mouth of a partner, particularly if there are bleeding gums, oral sores, or other STIs present. So yeah, absolutely. Oh my goodness, I should have Googled this like long ago. While considered a low-risk activity, transmission can occur if infected semen, pre-seminal fluid, or blood enters the mouth of a partner, particularly if there are bleeding gums, oral sores, or other STIs present. Key details regarding HIV and oral sex. Oral sex carries little to no risk for transmitting HIV, especially compared to anal or vaginal sex. Factors increasing risk: the presence of oral ulcers. The thing I'm talking about, like the mouth is a lot more susceptible to weird stuff. Like every so often, like I have a flu sore that every so often pops up all up in these streets. But sometimes, have you ever eaten like a fist pop, like sweetie, and that you just keep on licking on, in the mouth, and so you bleed? And how many times, listen, I don't have bleeding gums generally, but every so often when I brush my teeth and I spit out the foam from my mouth, there's like blood there, and I'm like, why are my gums bleeding? Largely I don't bleed, but sometimes I do. Maybe because I'm rough brushing or whatever. Largely I don't bleed, but sometimes I do. So seeing as you don't even know when you've got to bleed, because some bleeding of your gums or bleeding of your, I can't say teeth, I literally almost said bleeding teeth. The bleeding of your gums is not because of you having eaten an apple hampi and so whatever happened, or something that you can anticipate. Sometimes it just comes on you. Like once every maybe 2 months, that comes out of my mouth and I'm brushing my teeth has blood in it. And what did I do? I didn't see it, and there's no pain in my mouth. There's nothing going on in my mouth that I can account for why this thing happened. I don't have memory of having ever bitten my tongue. And then it's just that I don't chew it anymore as much as I used to because of money. Yes, and secondly, I'm always praying in tongues and bubblegum interrupts that. And thirdly, yeah, pretty much those two. I don't have access to it at leisure. But back when I used to chew bubblegum pretty much every day, alright, I used to have this big fat chunky bottle, yeah, all that professional white. Little bites of my tongue in my mouth. And you know, with bubblegum, if you bite your tongue from chewing bubblegum, if you carry on chewing bubblegum, you will inevitably bite yourself on the same spot again. I had too many incidents of that nature in any given a week for me to be out here taking a risk about giving random strangers fellatio. Anyway, the presence of oral ulcers, bleeding gums, or other sexually transmitted diseases either increase the otherwise a low risk, very low risk. Low risk is not no risk. Transmission routes. Infection requires infected fluids, semen, vaginal fluid, or blood to enter the bloodstream, usually through damaged tissue. Now, oh goodness gracious, you know, people who insist on swallowing seminal fluid, like, yeah, it's a whole thing in this kingdom of darkness. People do weird trash, right? The inside of your stomach, I would imagine, doesn't have blood, because when you vomit, you don't see blood there unless you're sick, right? When you cough, you don't see blood in your sputum unless you're sick. And when you vomit after a bad spate of sorrow at the alcohol joint, you also don't have vomit in your what do you call this, in your contents that you vomit. Similarly too, when you poop like a monster, unless you're sick, there is unlikely going to be blood in your stools. So therefore, that which houses or vessels our food as it goes in and travels to the stomach and then also goes out, there is no blood there. And likely also no blood vessels, unless of course you're sick. So perhaps maybe by swallowing seminal fluid you might not get HIV, because it is possible for a baby housed inside the body. It is possible for a baby housed inside the body of an HIV positive woman to come out negative. So there are certain parts of the body that have no blood in it. It's a phenomenal thing to gaze at, that like the way that the body works, the way that there's just so much blood when you cut a person. You would imagine it's everywhere, right? But there are parts of the body where there is no blood, evidently. So I don't know if swallowing seminal fluid would ever give you HIV, because that semen in and of itself is infected. But if there is a cut inside your stomach because you got that ulcer, or if there is a cut in your digestive tract because angazi, like you be swallowing like you're a magician, glass or whatever, trying to do a trick, then you can contract it that way. But for me, it's about the fact that there's just so many ways in which you can cut your tongue, cut at the inside of your mouth, whatnot. So for y'all to be thinking, Guti, there's no risk with fellatio, I don't know what's going on with you. Plus, who in the world wants a random manhood just flying around their noses perpetually? And because some dudes want to give you a job that way. That place, you urinate with it. And I don't know, like whatever, ew. Like if it's not your husband's nether regions, why are you busy just perusing them, holding them, touching them, mangling them? Like listen, we don't know. We don't know. Undetectable, untransmissible UU. If a person with HIV is on effective antiretroviral antiretroviral therapy and has an undetectable viral load. They cannot pass the virus to others, including through oral sex. Okay, so that's what's going on over here. I spoke about the undetectable trick that people are using, where it is that, like this guy, the one all over the show, he deliberately skips days when he takes his ARVs, undetectable, for no other reason but the fact that angry, mad, he is vus, and he wants to transmit his disease but be alive enough, healthy enough not to die tomorrow. And I'm like, yes, and nakona, even if you are undetectable, you must disclose your status so that a person can make a decision if they want to be with you with HIV, and also go on all those precautions. I'm a prep. If a person is willing to do that, then fine. But if they're not, it's their right to say, I don't want that. And Ugunaban do that because of their undetectability are not disclosing their HIV statuses because of the taboo, because of the stigma, and because of fearing that people are not going to want to be with them. On that day, you are irresponsible, because while you might be undetectable today, it is not a guarantee that you're going to be maintained as undetectable, especially considering certain lifestyle decisions can take you out of that safe zone. And like the HIV is an immuno illness. It attacks the immune system. So if you keep doing things to your body that harass your immune system, that HIV will also have a feel ill. You basically make yourself a big fat chunky walking comorbidity. And so your viral load might go up simply because you're living a very irresponsible lifestyle. And then because they sleep around all over these streets, many of these crazy guys, albeit being undetectable, infection and reinfection, balala without condoms protection, nobody tell themselves, I'm undetectable anyway, and I'm on ARVs. So umuntu that is HIV positive that you're sleeping with for the first time, though you're also HIV positive, however undetectable, are you not getting reinfected? Like, there's just so much irresponsibility on the part of these particular monsters. And abanye are going out of their way, like I said, to make sure that they're infectious because somebody gave it to them. And this here guy that I'm talking about is like that. So that guy from my high school, for further protection, consistent use of barriers, condoms, or dental dams, whatever that is, during oral sex can reduce the already low risk. He basically said that. The guy from the one that came to our school to give us a talk basically said, just use condoms. There's flavored condoms. So he didn't have an answer. He was not thoroughly educated. He wasn't trained enough to answer that question. And like I said, he was visibly annoyed at my question. So I finally found an answer. How many years down the line? Like 20, 22, 23 years. Okay, sharp. 23 years later, I finally find the answer. 23 years later, I finally find an answer to this here question. So Mamelane, all of y'all that are off the imagination that fellatio is enough for you to help me get a job. Shem, wait again, guys. When you know yourself, how we say as a person, as a human being, as a person, okay, fine, then give me hate. Like, who do you think you are, and why do you think you can make that kind of demand of a woman? Yo, guys, yes, and by the time I get out of the situation, abantu bazokumbula that bangaphelile because I wouldn't sleep with them and then later on said, fine, give me hate. Abantu are gonna remember that they imagined me way in over my head for simply sticking to my guns and knowing who I am enough to reject the kind of man that every woman in these streets should reject. Women should say no because he's a jerk, dog. He's a jerk. Women should say no because he's a jerk. Mara because but because he still finds you sexy, then says, fine, give me hate. Lazy. What do you call this? I get it, I'll show you a nice time. Yeah, like I said, they're lust ridden. What I wanted to say was they're lust heavy. They're sex crazed. They are sex crazed, and because they're sex crazed, I would go so far as to say hauna play ya momo strate. Some shit that he found at a club tonight, at the back of that club. That is gonna go more than 2 minutes. I am pretty sure. Dala amuplanele. Agenandaba nogum satisfy. How she feels, whether she gets to the nth degree of herself. It's about hitting it and quitting it. And Uyazi, Uguti, all he wants is to just satiate his desire for the day. So the 1 minute myth is what I'm getting at. And in my shorts, I lamented against this. I was like, chances are the way even if I were to capitulate, in a minute, roll over, and then I was going to lie there on some. I waited 14 years for 2 minutes. He gave me 14 years, and I finally settled. And after settling, without even talking too much, soon as we enter into this hotel room, without talking, like what guys used to do back when I was 19, 20. Without even trying to satiate me, just to feel my boobs. abang kapula diaparo, and without even too much foreplay, just get straight to it, and within 2 minutes, I'm done. But then wait for a second and a third. After all, I spent however much money for a night in a hotel, so the next rounds will be maybe like 3 minutes, 4, 5, but nonetheless, lo muntu lona uzaba jahele nje fela ukufika where he wants to get. It'll never be about me. It'll never be about me. And manje mina I come from my relationships as steady, as stable, where mengi medi, I was medi, where I was fornicating, where umuntu merangi mela and whatnot, where it was carefully considered what in the world I'm thinking at that particular moment. Me gune interest in finding out what I want. And the men who want me bajahe so much and they just want to have sex that they would basically pale in comparison even to my ex-boyfriends. They would pale bajahile, and I would have waited 14 years for a husband, never got one, and the first dude that I slept with squeezed my boobs or squeezed my bum, took off my clothes, and in 3 seconds he was done. And that is how I got a YouTube channel. I'm sorry, it's not even about feeling dirty, it's about the fact that what are you doing? Yeah, it will make me feel dirty, but over and above feeling dirty, I'd be like, what are you doing? Listen, on the other side of that, listen, go a public clinic and then test positive for HIV for a minute. Test positive for HIV over a minute, having waited 14 years. This year it'll be 15 years for a husband. And when I finally lay with this idiot, okay, settled for you now, because I get it, they've quarantined my hammer and make sure that it don't move. They say after all that 2-second activity where he would have just lambasted me before he can even talk to me. Begilo test positive. Okay, sure. Begilo test positive. Yes, I'm sure they're always just talking dirty to women on some sex to be rough. I come from a life of sexual activity. I was a fornicator. I wasn't supposed to fornicate. I therefore am a woman that knows what she wants. So the one owner, well, the one that's all up in my grill, who put my list at the millionaire, whatever guy owner 38. The way every time I came over, he's in my tongue. He's in my mouth. He has a kiss curse. I don't know oral herpes. He has a kiss curse that he uses that makes women that, albeit wanting to just kiss and not take this further or take things slow, as soon as you in a kiss, something mesmerizing over and just makes them finish in Trebagari. So this guy, every time I came over, I'm just like all up in my grill, I'm soon I got speaking as if though it's romantic, like in the movies how a dude be out here grabbing a lady and just kissing her. What the heck? Like it's like you're pervasive. I didn't give you permission. I didn't act in a way so as to suggest that I'm content with you leaning in for a kiss, and even then lean in so that I can be like, no, I'm not ready. But don't just grab me and think it's romantic to just kiss me. He just goes and hops on women with a kiss and then hopes in Jafela. Not hopes. It is certain that it will result in sex, because there is a ritual that he does that takes women over with just a kiss. And I've been saying this, I keep repeating myself. So I get it, I don't want to kiss even until I'm married. Until the pastor says you may now kiss the bride, the officiator. I'm not kissing. It's because of this kind of stuff. Never mind.